Hi there, welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and welcome to this month's installment of Nostalgia Lane. Nostalgia Lane is the monthly series of videos in which I rewatch and review a film from my past which I had not previously seen in a very long time. This month I am reviewing Galaxy Quest, starring Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver, from 1999. Now, I apologize in advance if my air conditioning can be heard in the background. I think it's not too loud. Hopefully it won't come up too much on this recording because it's 90 degrees where I am, and I have an elderly dog and I can't not have the air conditioning on. Anyways, quick review on how Nostalgia Lane works. I start with part 1, why I chose the film for Nostalgia Lane. Part 2, what I thought of the film when I first saw it. Part 3, what I thought of the film after my rewatch. And part 4, my rating out of 10. So let's go ahead and just dive right into part 1. Okay, so part 1, why I chose this film for Nostalgia Lane. So I've been thinking about this one for a while because everyone within the Star Trek fandom always references this film, always talks about what a great film it is, and it's kind of almost like part of being a Star Trek fan, a Trekkie, is the love of this film and having seen this film a million times. Even though it isn't Star Trek itself, it does parody Star Trek. It is based off of Star Trek, so it is beloved by the Star Trek fans. And I was one of them once. I absolutely love this movie, but it had been a very long time since I've seen it, and I feel like as a Star Trek fan, I really should revisit this movie. And what my hesitation was is that I don't really care for Tim Allen as a person. He's an extreme right-wing asshole. He has said some things that are very sexist and misogynistic. I don't remember him directly saying anything anti-LGBTQ, but from what I know about him, I would be surprised if he was an advocate for our community. But I just don't like him as a person, and I am just someone who is not great at separating art from the artist. If I don't like a human being, if I know I don't like their personality, then it's difficult for me to watch their works. So that was what was holding me back. But when I think about it, I also don't like William Shatner very much. I think he's an egotistic asshole. And I still watch all the Star Trek films. I just did all 6 of them recently, and I'll still watch TOS every once in a while. So I'll still watch him. So if I can make an exception for William Shatner, I can make an exception for Tim Allen, who ironically is basically playing William Shatner in this movie, or at least a character who's very loosely based off of William Shatner. So I figured I need to just get over that, separate the artist from the art, and enjoy the film, because I know it is a good movie. And so I decided to finally do that, and I didn't regret it, but that's actually more a story for part 3, what I think of the film after my rewatch. Before we can get to that, I do need to first do part 2, what I thought of the film at the time that I first saw it. Okay, so let me get into what I thought about the film when I first saw it. So it came out in 1999. I didn't see it in 1999 because I had a complete misperception of what kind of movie this was. I had no idea that this was a parody of the Star Trek fandom. To me, it looked like a really silly sci-fi comedy starring Tim Allen, who at the time, I hadn't yet gotten to where I am now with him, where I just don't like him and think he's a terrible person. But even by 1999, I had already grown tired of his humor and didn't really think he was all that funny anymore. He was kind of a one-trick pony, and I thought he was past his prime, and I didn't find him very funny. So this really silly looking sci-fi comedy movie starring an actor who I didn't think was really all that funny anymore was not appealing to me, and nobody told me it was a Star Trek parody or a parody of the fandom. I didn't find that out till a year later, and I was like, oh, it is? Well, then I want to watch this movie. Why did they not make that more clear? I didn't know that. So I am fairly certain that I watched this movie for the first time during the same time period that I watched Almost Famous for the first time, which is a Nostalgia Lane I did a couple months ago, 3 months ago, or something like that. There was this time period in the fall of 2000 where I was living with my parents because I was moving from the West Coast back to the East Coast at that time. And I needed to stay with my parents while I was waiting for my new apartment to open up. It had another month before I could move into it. I have since moved back to the West Coast again, in case anybody was wondering. But at that time, I was staying with my parents for a month, and I didn't have a job yet, and I didn't have really anything to do except watch a shit ton of movies. So I watched Almost Famous, and I believe, if I remember correctly, my mom had actually bought the Galaxy Quest on DVD. So I remember watching it for the first time at my parents' house, and after I had found out what the hell the movie actually was, I was like, oh, well, I should watch this. And I loved it. And then I did watch it a few more times after that. I did see it several times. It just, right now, it has been a long time since the last time I watched it. But I definitely did watch it multiple times. As a Star Trek fan, like, how could you not love this movie? And of course, a little bit later, I would see the quote from Patrick Stewart where he talks about how much he adores the scene with Alan Rickman mumbling about how he used to be in the Royal Shakespeare Company and now he's saying this stupid line and wearing an alien uniform and all those kinds of things, and how Patrick Stewart really resonated with that, and how he likened it to when he was acting to an oil slick in the Next Generation episode Skin of Evil, and he remembers just mumbling to himself, well, I used to be in the Royal Shakespeare Company, now I'm acting to an oil slick. So I really appreciated hearing that perspective from him. Obviously, as a fan, that's not where I'm coming from. I just enjoyed the parody. I think the thing that really I latched onto, which I actually had forgotten all about until my rewatch, but I loved that they cast a red shirt in this film. Although they don't wear red shirts in the Galaxy Quest uniform or universe, but you know what I mean. The Sam Rockwell character, and how he was just so insistent that he was going to die because he's the red shirt. And there's even a line where at one point, where Sigourney Weaver was like, "We better do something before Guy dies." Like this. And I just loved the parody there. And actually, I'd forgotten all about that line until the rewatch. But the one line that always stuck with me, and it might be a line that not a lot of other people latch on to, I don't think, but I thought it was hilarious that I laughed for like 20 minutes about it, is toward the end where Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver are going to shut down the thing or whatever they're trying to do, and they come across in the hallway, there's all these, what she calls smashy crushy things. And I remember always laughing at Sigourney Weaver saying, "Who the hell puts a bunch of smashy crushy things in the middle of a hallway? What practical purpose could they possibly serve?" I just cracked up laughing because they always do that in movies and shows, not necessarily Star Trek, but have this random smashy crushy things that won't serve any practical purpose other than to create this obstacle for the main characters. And I just cracked up laughing, and that's the one line that kind of stuck with me over the years. A lot of that other stuff that I loved, I kind of forgot about it because it had been so long. So it was really quite a joy to go back and rewatch this. But that leads me into part 3, so let me go ahead and move on over to part 3. Okay, so let's start with the Tim Allen of it all, since I was hesitant to watch this because I don't like Tim Allen. So I still don't like Tim Allen. I don't think he's a good person, and I still don't think he's very funny. However, the writers of this film wrote a really good character for him. I absolutely love the character arc. That this character really truly does redeem himself. He does start off as, quite frankly, a William Shatner type, very full of himself, doesn't give a shit about anyone else, is ready to screw over anybody. I don't know that William Shatner for sure does those things, but that's the impression I get of him. So he was very much like that, but he is humbled throughout this film. Going through these experiences, it humbles him, and same with all of the other cast members as well. And they really grow a bond, and they grow to really love and appreciate each other by the end of the film. And I thought it was really well written and really well acted. So aside from just this being a great parody and being a very silly film, I didn't realize how good the character stories actually are in this movie. So upon my rewatch, I really appreciated that most of all. And of course, as I mentioned before, the red shirt played by Sam Rockwell, I just was dying laughing at those scenes. No, I'm gonna die! Don't you understand? I can't go. I'm gonna die. I'm an extra. That was just so good. And, the line I mentioned before that I thought was funny back then, I still think is funny. But actually, the comic timing throughout this film is really good. It actually is a well-written comedy. It's really funny film. So there is obviously a lot of suspension of disbelief, which there's going to be in a silly comedy movie like this. But I can't help it but think about the fact that there's just no way. even though, just as in real life, there's blueprints of the Enterprise, there's blueprints of the Protector, as we see that these nerds have. The fact that this alien species would be able to recreate the ship that accurately is far-fetched, even if you accept the premise of an alien species existing. It's far-fetched. And why did they never question where the real Protector was? Why did they not ask Commander Taggart where his ship was? Why did they have to recreate a ship that, in their mind, already exists? So I know it's overthinking. It's just a silly comedy, and you have to suspend disbelief. And believe me, I do suspend disbelief. I do not hold any of this against the movie at all. I think if I really hold anything against the movie, it's just maybe a touch too silly for my taste. And that's why when I give my rating, it won't be a 10. But I still really enjoyed this film a lot. I found myself laughing. And I like that it's not too long. It's like 100 minutes long. I think that's a good length of a comedy film. So I am glad I finally got over my Tim Allen hang-up and went back and watched this film and was pleasantly surprised at actually how good Tim Allen is in this movie, because he has a very well-written character to play with in this movie. So I'm glad I watched it. Now let me go ahead and tell you what my rating of the movie was. Alright, here it is, part 4. Time for my rating. So my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest possible score and 10 being the highest possible score for Galaxy Quest, is an 8.5. So I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of the silliness, I just can't bring myself to give this a 9. A 9 just feels like a touch too high, and yet an 8 feels too low. Therefore, it is an 8.5. But as I said, I highly enjoyed revisiting this film, and I won't wait another 15, 20 years to watch it again, or however long it's been. I don't know, probably not 20 years, but it's been a while. I will watch it again sooner than that, and I am with you all now. Now I can join with my subscriber Brandon Howells, who likes to join me in the live chat, and you can go ahead and quote Galaxy Quest all you want, and I'll get it, because I've seen the film recently. Alright, that does it for this month's edition of Nostalgia Lane. So let me tell you what I'm going to be covering next month. So next month, I'm going back to the 80s. I had said before I was kind of getting tired of the 80s. I need to take a little break from them. And I've taken a good, 4-month break from the 80s. So now I'm going back to the 80s, and I'm going to be covering my second consecutive Sigourney Weaver film. I'm going to be covering Aliens next month. And maybe that surprises you because you're like, but Alyssa, haven't you seen Aliens a million times? Don't you have it memorized backward and forward like your brother does? No. I actually haven't seen it in like 20 years. It's been a long, long time since I've seen this movie. And you're saying, but Alyssa, aren't you in the Aliens fandom? Don't you watch all of the Aliens versus Predator, all six movies of those, and Aliens, Prometheus, and Alien Resurrection, and Alien Insurrection, and Aliens Resurrection, and the Insurrection, or whatever. I don't know what the names of any of those movies are. No, I loved the movie when it came out, but it wasn't something that drew me in to be a big fan of. Like, aliens popping out of people's stomach was not a compelling enough story for me to keep watching film after film after film after film. The last Aliens film I saw was Alien 3, and it sucked. And then I never watched a single one after that. And you know what? You people who call yourself fans, so-called, you all complain about most of these movies. I always hear about how bad they are. I feel the same way about the non-MCU Marvel movies like Venom and all that. People always watch them all the time just to talk about how much they suck. Like, why do you watch them? Like, that's what it seems like to me with all those Alien movies. But I've never ever been interested in all those movies. However, I did actually really like the Aliens film when I saw it, but it's just been a while. So I think it's long time that I revisit it. And I was especially reminded to do it after Strange New Worlds did an episode that was pretty much a rip-off of Aliens. So that made me want to go back and watch the actual movie. So that's what I will be doing next month. Aliens will be Nostalgia Lane in August 2022. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next month as I talk about Aliens. And please subscribe if you have not already. Hit the bell for notifications, like my videos, and check out all my other content, including Star Trek, Star Wars, the MCU, and a bunch of other stuff. I will see you really soon. Goodbye.